from the start of spring and possibly another 2.5 months away from Aaron Rodgers making a decision. How we doing today? Evan and Tiki on the fan. We got a lot to get to. The NFL is mulling some rule changes. We bring back an old Evan and Tiki game called New Team Who Dis. That returns later on in the show. But as an Aaron Rodgers-ologist, I have a spoiler alert for everybody in the audience, and certainly for you, Tiki, and for the whole crew. Welcome back, Sean. I'm going to tell you two reports that came out today about Aaron Rodgers, if you haven't heard it, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. There's a spoiler alert. First of all, Diana Rossini on the Aaron Rodgers situation. The Vikings have strongly considered and will continue to monitor Aaron Rodgers as an option, but they're not ready to commit at this point in the offseason. They understand this could lead to him signing elsewhere or retiring. J.J. McCarthy's spring will be key. Adam Schefter tweets, nothing related to Minnesota has altered Aaron Rodgers' timeline. One source monitoring Rodgers' potential decision about the 2025 season said this morning that the free agent quarterback is still, quote, in no rush at all. So here's what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm afraid I got some bad news. Aaron Rodgers is not signing today. He's not signing tomorrow. He's not signing next week. He's not signing the week after that. Aaron Rodgers, and I get why he's doing this, is going to put his feet up and he's going to wait. He's going to wait for potentially the Minnesota Vikings to say, screw it, we're going to sign you. He's going to wait for either the Giants or the Steelers to offer even more money. Or, how about this one? He's going to wait for a major quarterback to go down with injury.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers has no rush to sign, and Aaron Rodgers is going to wait, and he's okay with the New York Giants or the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I believe in the Giants
saying, hey, we're going to move on. But what we need to decide as New Yorkers, and for you guys certainly as Giant fans, is are you willing to wait even longer? Because I don't think he's signing anytime soon.
No, I don't think he is either. And we kind of came to this realization last week. I forgot why we were talking about it. Maybe because of the Kirk Cousins deal and realizing how much control Aaron Rodgers actually has over all of these teams that are pining for him, actively and openly pining for him. And since there are multiple of them, it's really easy for him to just say, I'm going to chill. It's not ideal. It's not where I want to be. I don't know if you can win, Giants. I don't know if you can ultimately win, Steelers, or if it's the right situation for me, or if you're not offering enough money, which I think is actually the case, because I think the Giants are ones leading in the clubhouse, and the Minnesota Vikings, like, what do you want me to do, right? And so I think that Aaron Rodgers has all the control here, which is why if I'm the Giants, I have to be like the Minnesota Vikings. I have to publicly say, yeah, we're still interested, but we're moving on from Aaron Rodgers. And I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, I'm thinking about what John Mara said at the end of the season, which is, I better feel a lot better at this time next year than I do right now, because it was a horrible feeling finishing 3-14 and looking inept and getting destroyed in some of these games. And I think most importantly, not having a plan at quarterback. And that's what it felt like at the end of the year for the Giants. What's the plan? And going into the offseason, it still was, what's the plan? And so if the Giants decide, like the Minnesota Vikings, we are going to kick Aaron Rodgers' pursuit down the line, maybe if it happens, it happens, and we're going to focus on a young quarterback, like the Vikings are doing with J.J. McCarthy, and the Giants say they're doing it with Cam Ward, or let's say even Shedeur Sanders, I would be, I think, more satisfied as a Giant fan than I am right now waiting for Aaron Rodgers. Because, look, who knows what a rookie quarterback's going to do? He may not help you win. We've seen examples of this happening in the last couple of years. Jaden Daniels, C.J. Stroud, we can name some of those. Most of them don't, but the last thing you need is to be beholden to a mercurial player like Aaron Rodgers.
They don't need to be. Like,
yes,
the way this was always going to work out in my mind, dating back to when I first brought this up in January, was you, as in the Giants, being in a position of power.
Yes.
And being honest with Aaron and saying, hey, the situation is very different than the Jets, and here's the way things are going to go.
And I bet they were, by the way.
Maybe.
And that's probably why he's not so eager to rush in and sign with the New York Giants.
I totally get it. Like, I get why Aaron Rodgers wouldn't sign with the New York Giants, and I totally get why he should wait. Because the reality is this: how many times over the course of an NFL season in the past. I remember this a lot with Brett Favre back in the day, like right after Brett retired, even over the last couple of years with Tom Brady. Would a guy get hurt in the NFL on a good team? And we would openly speculate, I wonder if Brady would come out of retirement for this. I wonder if Favre would come out of retirement for this.
This happened 2 years ago.
Right.
Remember? Because when I was in the booth with Matt Ryan. I mean, how many of those, maybe Matt Ryan is in conversation?
Yes.
Like, he's not playing anymore.
But it's always an idea because someone's going to get hurt.
Yes.
Someone's going to get hurt. So if I'm Aaron Rodgers and I want to win a championship, and I also love looking at myself in the mirror, and I love when people talk about me. Aaron Rodgers can downplay it all he wants. He loves this attention. He loves the fact that Sports Talk Radio in New York is talking about him.
Yep.
He loves the fact that ESPN is talking about him. He loves the fact that Fox in the Morning with Craig is talking about him. He loves the fact that everything's being talked about. As soon as he signs, the story kind of goes away. So Aaron gets a couple of great things by waiting. A, he continues to get talked about. And then B, you wait for an even better situation. I'm going to knock on wood because I don't root for injury. What if Justin Herbert got hurt early in training camp with the Chargers? What if Josh Allen got hurt early in training camp with the Buffalo Bills? What if Patrick Mahomes got hurt early in training camp with Kansas City? I got an even sexier one. What if Jordan Love got hurt early in Packer camp? It creates...
There's no chance he's going there.
It creates all these extra possibilities for Aaron Rodgers, and that's why I know why the Giants want this done today. I know why the Steelers want this done today. But if you're Aaron Rodgers, you can literally wait for an even better opportunity. And by the way, the Vikings are a part of this.
Right.
Because J.J. McCarthy is a young player coming off a major injury. It's not even J.J. McCarthy stinks in the spring. It's, hey, we're concerned about J.J.'s health in the spring. And then all of a sudden the Vikings say, we want Aaron Rodgers. So knowing all of that, that's where the Giant fan has to say, all right, how much longer am I willing to wait? Because yesterday when we talked about this, I was more on the line of, you can wait longer. But the more I think about what Rodgers could do and reports from Adam Schefter that he's in no rush leads me to think he could take this into June.
Yeah.
He really could.
Yeah, you can't wait. You have to be able
So when's the drop dead date? Is it now or is it the draft or is it sometime before that?
Clearly it's the draft because by the draft, you've made almost all of your roster decisions. Because we remember this from 2 years ago when the Jets kind of got hamstrung in roster building because they had to wait for the financial side of the Aaron Rodgers situation to work itself out, right? And so they didn't do maybe a couple extra moves. Who knows if it would have made any difference? But ultimately, when he got hurt, it killed their season. But like when you're delaying your roster build for weeks upon weeks, you just hurt yourself.
Yeah,
because good players are going to leave, and like especially now where you're judging talent on the margins, right? You're not getting the superstar, even though there are a couple of those guys that probably are impact players still out there. It's like you really got to be smart with who you bring in. And so if you're starting to pick from the bottom of the barrel, you're not helping yourself.
You want to hear something hilarious? 6 days ago, Sean Morash went on vacation and was scared that the Giants would sign a quarterback while he was away. How'd that go for you, Sean?
I cannot believe we're here. I can't believe we're here. It's like I went through a different dimension. I'm here, and there's still no quarterback on his freaking roster.
Are you ready to move on from Aaron Rodgers?
I am so out. And the Giants right now are reminding me of me in 9th and 10th grade. They're being friend-zoned, bro. He don't want us. He does not want you. Move on before you embarrass yourself further. I don't know deep down how the meetings went with Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, or Joe Flacco, but I know those guys took meetings with the Giants, so at least there was some semblance of interest. For Aaron Rodgers, and we all admitted this, might be the best option out of all of them. But this team and this organization is in no freaking place right now to sit and wait and not have a veteran on this roster when, oh, by the way, they control zero of their destiny at the moment in the draft, picking 3rd overall. This is now becoming an embarrassing moment. Look, if you sign Joe Flacco, that shouldn't prohibit you down the line from signing Rodgers if he chooses it. You need somebody in place now. Move the hell on. You're being friend zoned.
The reality is, if you sign Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers comes around, you can just cut Joe Flacco.
That's true. That's true.
You know what I mean?
But you can't afford for Joe Flacco to go sign with whoever or Jameis. Like, eventually, all these seats run out. You can't have Tommy DeVito be the only veteran on this team.
So you are out. You're ready to move on from Aaron Rodgers. Now, Tommy has expressed and I get it, a willingness to wait. My question to you, though, bro, is when is the moment where you say, I've waited long enough? Because I'm throwing out a theory that I believe is based on knowing Aaron Rodgers. And not personally, just being an Aaron Rodgers-ologist, that he literally could take this into the summer. It is an absolute possibility. So knowing that's a possibility, when is the moment that you, Tommy Lugauer, is willing to say, all right, I've waited long enough, I got to move on?
Let's say late July for me.
Late July?
Right around the baseball all-star break.
You can't do that, though.
Why not?
You kidding?
Because if you're bringing him in to tutor a young quarterback, which is, I think, what we all agree he would be a part of doing, you don't you want him around? I mean, you guys made such a big deal of him missing mini camps with the Jets. Now you're talking about him not even being on the roster until after training camp starts.
Hold on. He missed the mandatory minicamp with the Jets.
That's fine.
He made every other one.
No, you're right.
He missed the mandatory one.
You're right. I'm trying to make it sound worse than it is, because the idea that you'd be willing to wait till late July after you guys had issues about him missing one mandatory or two mandatory days, that feels very contradictory, and even worse because there's a young player involved, which there wasn't with the Jets. It was just Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, wait a minute. I had a tutor back in the day for math. I only met with her like once a week. How long does Aaron Rodgers have to sit with a rookie quarterback? Every single day he's got to tutor this kid?
I think it's mostly by osmosis.
Exactly.
Just watching how he goes about his business.
And by the way, Joe Flacco will be waiting in late July. Where is Joe Flacco signing? Nobody's signing this guy.
So to me, it's not about Joe Flacco. It's about the young quarterback. Because the way I've always envisioned this with Aaron is that if you bring him in, really any veteran quarterback, you're still drafting somebody. Whether it's third overall or it's in the second round, you're drafting a young quarterback. And in that situation, Aaron Rodgers needs to be a part of not just learning this offense and learning Malik Neighbors and learning a new offense that he's not controlling. This is the Brian Daboll offense. So not only does he need to be a part of that, he needs to be a part of grooming a young player. So to me, late July is lunacy. Like, I'm willing to wait. I'm more on your side, but I would put a drop dead date of about April 10th.
Yeah.
Like, I would have it maybe a week or two before the draft where I'd say, all right, bro, I have to move on. And it's not because of the veterans. It's not because I'm afraid I'm losing Joe Flacco or Jameis Winston or Russell Wilson. It's that eventually I'm going to need him in my organization to not only prepare for this upcoming season, but to work with a young player. And to throw that out and say you're willing to wait till August, the only teams that should be willing to wait till August are the teams that are truly a quarterback away. The Giants aren't. A part of Aaron Rodgers is that he's a bridge to the future. You can't wait that long.
Yeah.
So to me, it's mid-April. I'm going to wait longer, but not past that.
I think one of the things that's happening, though, is that Aaron Rodgers is trying to figure out what that means for him. What you just said. Mm-hmm. That he is not fully, but partially being marginalized as a, quote, bridge to the future. Not a, come save us, we're going to win because of you, you're going to be a hero. Now, he could be all of that, but that's not what people are talking about. Like, I honestly think the Giants were honest with him about what the plan was.
They should be.
Just like they were with Russell Wilson a year ago, and maybe that cost them getting Russell Wilson as a backup, to Daniel Jones a year ago, as we've talked about multiple times. So I believe the Giants are the Giants. Joe Shane and Daves are going to just tell you like it is.
As they should.
Maybe they don't do that with the media because he's more Belichick than he is anybody else. But I think in person, Daves is as honest as it can be.
And that's what they have to be with Aaron Rodgers, because the only way this Rodgers thing ever made sense when we talked about it months ago was him understanding the deal. He's not a savior here. This isn't the Jets all over again. This is a different situation. And if Aaron Rodgers isn't willing to do it, fine. Then go get a different veteran.
Right.
I mean, Russell Wilson may not be as good, but he can serve the same purpose of giving you a better chance of winning games now while developing somebody for the future. If Aaron Rodgers isn't on board with that, then the Giants should be out immediately.
And he probably isn't on board with that.
Well, then why are they still in on him?
I don't know.
It only made sense if he was on board with the plan. If he's not on board with the plan, then you got to tell him to go scratch.
4 more years.
This might actually be going on. We haven't heard from the Giants. We haven't heard anything. Like, we've heard from the Steelers that they finally got back in contact with Aaron Rodgers and he's delaying and whatever it is what it is. But there's nothing leaking about Aaron Rodgers and the Giants.
And maybe that's the Giants being scared about leaks, that Aaron Rodgers warned them. He wants everything to be very secret and up tight-lipped.
Maybe. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I think there are certain, I don't know, quirks to Aaron Rodgers that you have to be sensitive to. But at the end of the day, the organization, that is the Giants organization, they have to take control of this because it's going to cost their head coach and potentially their general manager this job. So they have to be proactive.
This only made sense. Only made sense if Aaron Rodgers was on board. He's not on board. Or if he's not on board, then you have to move on. We'll get your calls coming up, 888-808-1019. How long or how much longer, if you're still willing to wait,